Hello and welcome to Just the Bible Will Do podcast. I am the host, Pastor Jonathan Smith. Today, on this segment of Jump In with Jonathan, I am honored to host Mr. Rory Paquette. He is the host of three different podcasts. He does the Podcaster Nation. He also has another podcast called Wake Up the Lions and another podcast called The Power of Man. Thank you for coming on today, sir.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I'm honored to be here, man. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about why you got into podcasting.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. You mentioned all three of my podcasts. I appreciate that very much.
Yes, sir.
As far as a little bit about myself, I'm a father and a husband. First and foremost in all things, and got three kids. They're all grown out of the house, so I'm an empty nester, and that's a mixed blessing, of course. But um, I'm a podcaster and a podcast coach, and that's what I do for a living is
Okay.
podcasting and coaching. And that's been a dream of mine for a very long time, and finally achieved that a couple years ago. And honestly, I'm a 55-year-old guy who's just out here trying to help others, trying to honor God, and living his dream. Man, it's beautiful. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what caused you to become or what inspired you to become a podcaster?
that's a great question. um, we all have different things that God's given us as gifts, and for the longest time, people kept telling me, "Oh, you should be on the radio. You've got a voice for this and that." And I've done, certain things throughout my life. I did some voiceover work and, read for some audio books and things like that, but um, never really just used this that way. I always use my voice for sales because I was in
Hmm.
sales forever and a day. But I was listening to another podcast. It was Ryan Mickler, Order of Man. It was uh, listening to him talking about starting how to start your own masculinity movement at the time, because
Hmm.
that's when I first got really interested in it. And it was at the time when masculinity and manhood and everything else was really just being frowned upon and kind of weeded out. People were attacking it right and left. All of a
Hmm.
sudden, it was a bad thing to stand up and be a man and take care of your family, that
Hmm.
type of thing. And I really had an issue with it. And I heard that, and I said, you know what, I can do this. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm not doing this. I can do this. So I
Hmm.
looked into how to do it. I even bought a course from Pat Flynn, who was also he runs a Smart Passive Income podcast, one of the biggest names in podcasting. He's one of the like grandfathers of podcasting, so to speak. So I checked out his course on kind of how to do the setup and start up, and then I wrote up what I wanted the podcast to be, and then I let all my stuff sit in a
Hmm.
box in my basement for a long time. And I was talking about it one night to my wife about how I really needed to get this podcast going. I really needed to do this and that. And she interrupts me and she looks at me and she goes, "Why don't you just go down there and record something?" And I looked at her and I went, that's really good advice. I think I'm just going to go do that. So I went downstairs, I hoofed it and winged it. And, episode one was born after about 4 tries and a whole bunch of, trial and error. But you don't know till you start. So that's how episode one came to be.
Yes, sir. How many episodes do you have now?
Power Man has over 230. Uh, the Podcaster Nation has around 90. And Wake Up the Lions just started. We have 6. I've
Okay.
had several other podcasts that have ranged from 10 to 40 episodes. So I mean, I all in total, I've done somewhere around 600 episodes, I think total.
Cool deal. Cool
Yeah.
deal.
So
What's your favorite part of podcasting, having done that many episodes?
favorite part of it is connecting with the people. It's amazing the community that's out there and the people you can meet, like yourself. You know,
Hmm.
um, and I think I really value the relationship that you and I have, and
Yes, sir.
that I've been able to build with a lot of other podcasters. Through coaching, through guesting, and hosting. So it's just such a unique community. And what's weird about podcasting too, and I'm sure you found this, is that we're not competing with each other.
Right.
There's plenty of room for podcasters, and we're all so different that we're not competition for one another. So it really is the only industry I've ever found where the rising tide actually does raise all ships.
Y- Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, how did you get into coaching and what inspired you about your coaching? I know you said in the beginning that you are a coach.
Another good question. I've been a coach most of my life. I've coached all three of my kids. I coached at some point in sports. My boys I coached almost completely in just about every sport they ever did, and for years and years. So I have decades of coaching, and it's something that I just absolutely love. It's like in my blood. It's in my DNA, and I knew that I wanted to continue coaching on things when I was in real estate. I owned a real estate company, and I was in real estate for a couple of decades, and in various capacities. And the whole time I was in there, I coached realtors, and I coached people on how to build their businesses. I was a tutor, a mentor, that type of thing. Taught my own course in real estate for a
Hmm.
long time. When the big course craze came out like 4 or 5 years ago and everybody had a course for something, I had a real estate course for realtors. And I had a whole bunch of realtors that I was training on how to be better realtors, and that type of thing. So I've always done it. And I finally, somewhere around maybe a year and a half ago, I just said, the thing I love the most out of all this stuff is podcasting.
Yes, sir.
And there's so much that people don't know about podcasting that I have learned over a lot of really hard years and gotten a lot of scars trying to learn. And I said, if I taught that to folks, then I could help other podcasters become better and stay in the business. And so that was really what got me into it and why I coach podcasters now.
Okay, cool deal. Now, are you looking for new students? Are you full with
Hmm.
students on your podcasting?
Yeah, I appreciate I lost connection there for a minute. Are we back?
All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
We're back. Sorry
we're
about
back.
that.
There we go. All right. I was doing some life coaching, with Power Man, and that was taking up a lot of my time. I've shifted a lot of that. I still do a significant amount of that, but more of my time now is helping podcasters than
Right.
it is, doing the life coaching. So I have opened up more spots for
Okay.
podcast coaching, and it doesn't take as many sessions. It doesn't take as long, that type of thing, as doing the life coaching for men. I still work with a lot of veterans and stuff like that. That's really important to me. I won't ever stop doing that, but I'm shifting a little more focus to podcast folks. So, yeah, I mean, I have room to take a few more students on right now and really would love to help some more people.
Okay. And to any of my listeners, at the end of the episode, you'll be able to get a link to all of Rory's contact information so that if you are interested in coaching from him, you'll be able to contact him. Or if you're interested in listening to his podcast, all of his links to his different podcasts will be there as well. So when we think about coaching, so you do a lot of podcast coaching um, as being coached by you. I think one of the things that has helped in the coaching is understanding social media. I run into someone this week and they said social media is like a puzzle. Once you get it put together, then it all clicks. Is that something that you have found, and is that something that you think a lot of podcasters struggle with?
Yes, on all of those counts. Yes, yes, and yes. One of the things that we all hate the most is having to do our posts, worrying about am I putting out the right post with the right content on the right platform, and I think that podcasters make a lot of mistakes,
Mhm.
on in that area. So, my coaching program encompasses not just podcasting, but how to, succeed as a podcaster. So we do talk about social media. We do talk about how to post, what to post. And, as you and I have found working together, not everybody excels on the same platforms.
Right.
So not everybody's going to be blowing up on Facebook. Not everybody's going to blow up on YouTube. Not everybody's going to blow up on, Twitter or X. Everybody has a platform that really fits them or two. And that's what you have to find. But you can't find it unless you go out and do the work and look. So at the beginning of podcasting, there's a lot of legwork. There's a lot of grunt work, so to speak, to find out what works and what fits you and what fits your show, what fits your brand. So we do a lot of that. Of course, we work on the podcast itself.
Yes, sir.
And then there's also, everybody who starts a podcast wants to find a way to monetize it, that type of thing. So we deal in that also.
Okay. And that's always great to have people that want to sponsor a podcast. That helps the creator, that helps more content be able to come out.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about the Podcaster Nation and how that idea got started.
Podcaster Nation. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that was a brainchild of me sitting there with my wife. And I was listening to another podcast, MLM Nation. And I was listening to an episode of that because I've been involved in a whole bunch of different MLMs over the years and tried them all out. And my son actually was very successful in one called Isogenics. But so I was listening to an episode of this because a friend of mine was being interviewed.
Hmm.
And so I went, all right, I want to hear what this is. And it's literally a podcast that just focuses on, MLM people, multi-level marketers. And I said, okay. And as I'm listening to this, I look over at my wife and I go, there's nothing that focuses on and features podcasters. I
Hmm.
mean, like nobody wants us to tell our story. Nobody tries to help us by, featuring us or promoting us. You're so alone in this world. And she's like, really? There's nothing like that? And I said, I don't think so. So we both jumped on our phones and she helped me out and we're checking everything, all these different titles. Nothing,
Wow.
nothing. And so I went, you know what? I got to start this.
Hmm.
I got to go figure this out. And I just decided right then I was going to start something like this. The name came right to me. It was Podcaster Nation. And I said, no, this is going to be the Podcaster Nation. So that's why the THE is capital, because this is the Podcaster Nation. It's about podcasters. It's for podcasters. It's done by podcasters, and it's for us to come together, And I also decided that I wasn't going to, have any kind of a slant or lean to any of it. Any podcaster is welcome who wants to talk about what they're doing. I don't care, what your brand is, what your focus is, what political affiliation you are. It doesn't make any difference to me. In Podcaster Nation, it's for everybody. It's just come together. There's no hate. There's no going after anybody else. There's no fighting, no nonsense. It's just about focusing on podcasters. And it's taken off really, really well.
Yes, sir. How many different podcasters is in the Podcaster Nation? I think there's a private group on Facebook, if I remember correctly, and
Mhm.
I'm sure there'll be a link to that at the end of this session today. How many people's in that group right off? Do you know?
Just about 100 in that
Okay.
group, and that's been invitation only. People can join that group if they have a podcast, but I actually do the work. There's a lot of admins that kind of let everybody in to a private group,
Mhm.
promoters and all these other folks. I probably turn away 10 to 15 people a day out of that group that just want to get in and access podcasters. And part of the question to get into the group is, what's your podcast? And if there's
Right.
no answer to that, you're not getting in. And I've had some people try and fake it. Oh, my podcast is called like One Fine Day. I look that up, man. I go all over the platforms and I'll spend 20 minutes looking you up. And if I can't find that podcast name with your name on your profile, you're not getting into that
Mhm.
group. So yeah, about 100. And we've got, like I said, about 90 episodes. And I think I have 30 or 40 at this point that are in reserve, that are
Okay.
recorded, ready to come out. So yeah,
Cool
that's where we
deal.
are with that right
Cool deal. So tell us about the power of man. I know you touched on it briefly. Tell us a little bit about that podcast and where the goal and the aim of it is.
now. That's a different story. It's hard to be brief on that one, but I'll try for the sake of you and your listeners.
Oh, it's fine.
That's my flagship podcast. It's the first one I started. It's the one that uh, came from completely came from my own experience. Um, the idea is that there is a power inside of every man that you're born with, that is inherited. It's part of your DNA, and
Mhm.
For a lot of us, unfortunately, it has just simply gone to sleep. The fires died down. And the idea there is that the flame's never completely out. It's still there. You just
Mhm.
have to find it. And sometimes you have
Mhm.
to find a way to rekindle it and get it burning again. I went through a really rough time, which I won't bore your folks with, but really and truly hit a low point to where I really didn't see the point in being here in this world anymore. And when I was going through my low point and all of my really hard experiences, and I'm talking hard, like you got to go give blood to be able to get some money to go buy some food to put it on the table so your kids have something to eat,
Yes, sir.
like that low.
Yes, sir.
And when you're dealing with that, it's tough enough to have to deal with that because you're facing, a complete failure as a man, as a father, as a husband, just trying to get up, tomorrow and go out and keep fighting is really difficult. But I went through it all alone. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I had my wife and my kids, and they never stopped believing in me, thank God.
Mhm.
But it was just me, brother. And the only people that I knew in my life either didn't care that that was going on with me, or they were glad it was going on with me
Mhm.
and thought I deserved it. So it was just like, wow. But you don't realize how low you are until you hit that point. Um, got out of that, which is a whole other story. But got out of that. I really do believe at this point that God reached down and saved me at that
Yes,
moment.
sir.
Um, and I didn't know it at the time, but I know it now. And sorry, it's tough to relive that part.
That's fine.
But got through that, and then on the way back up, I started thinking, I was so alone. I don't want anybody to have to go through that. So I just kind of changed my attitude about helping others, and
Mhm.
I was a lot more cognizant of guys who might need a hand up, or some encouragement. And when the podcast idea came around, it was based on wanting to talk about masculinity. But as it formed and as the words came out of my mouth in my first episode, I did that with no script, no written ideas, no outline. I just sat down in front of a mic and talked. And I just told my story. And as I told my story, the podcast got formed.
Mhm.
And the idea behind it is I never want any man to feel like he is completely alone in this world ever again. So if my podcast can help one man out there not have to feel alone at that moment, where he feels like he's got no usefulness at all anymore and doesn't need to be here, if one guy changes his life from that, then the podcast is worth it. And that's what it's about.
Yes, sir. So there is a private Facebook page for that podcast as well called The Power of Man Within.
You got it.
Okay. How many members is a part of that group,
I
roughly?
th- I think we're at 130, 120, 130, somewhere in there right now. I don't know the exact number. We let a few in over Father's Day weekend. I turned down about 20 over Father's Day weekend.
So you
Uh,
turn people down?
I turned a ton of people down for that group.
Okay. What's the
Yeah,
reasoning?
we have a lot of people who see a group like that. It's called Power of Man Within, and they want to sign up and get in there and cause trouble and do their best to cause upheaval and spread their own hate and that type of thing. And whenever someone applies to that group, if I don't know them, if they're not invited by somebody in the group, or if I didn't invite them, then I look them up and I read their posts and I check them on various platforms, not just on Facebook. And I search them out. I mean, I'll spend half an hour looking somebody up. I don't care because this group's important.
Correct.
And when you find all the posts that are rainbow flags and Pride Month and down with this guy and that and hate everywhere, and it's like, you know what? I don't need you in that group. Decline. Goodbye.
Right.
Sorry. So yes, I've actually turned down over 400 people for that group.
Wow.
It would be a monster sized group if I let them all in, but it'd be totally useless because it'd be full of hate.
Yes.
So
And we need a world less of hate and more of love.
yeah,
Not a coward love, but not a but also on the same token, we need some men that'll stand up for what they believe in. And that leads into the next podcast, Wake Up the Lions podcast that you do, which has inspired me, as some of my listeners know I've been on. that podcast. So tell us a little bit about that podcast and what inspired that podcast.
I appreciate that. And thank you for coming on that podcast. You were great. Um,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
and you have been tearing it up lately. I love that. So, one of the things that inspired that podcast was on Power Man, especially, but even on Podcaster Nation, I would get, men and women who would come on and even pastors who would come on who would say, is it okay to talk about God here? Is
Hmm.
it okay to talk about my faith? Because that plays a big role in my story.
Hmm.
Um, do I need to tone down the God thing? And I heard it over and over and over. And I'm like, this is not something you should ever have to ask out loud. So I said, you know what? There's there's not enough people who are speaking up about their faith. They're not coming out and saying, look, I'm a Christian. It's okay that I'm a Christian. They're scared to
Hmm.
death. And so I started thinking about what's happened over the last, especially, 5, 6 years, where, every group that's out there that has a month for them or, gets special treatment for them, well, they're out there fighting for it.
Hmm.
They're out there saying, hey, I matter because these are my beliefs. And they're fighting, for it. And Christians at every single stop are putting their heads down and going, yeah, listen, it's okay. You don't have to give me anything right now because I'll just take the back seat and put my beliefs away.
Hmm.
And I'm like, why? I mean, we've been persecuted for years now to
Yes.
where we get banned on social media, we get shadow banned, all the time, when they think that we don't know what's happening. But anybody who understands any of the systems knows you are. Um, we get outwardly told, hey, tone down the God thing, oh, I don't want to hear about that. Keep your faith to yourself. If I just walk up and say, hey, I'm a proud Christian, someone accuses me of hate speech.
Right.
And I'm like, what? So, I started really looking into this and really researching where this was all coming from and what we could do. And I was really moved by this. I had I did a podcast episode here recently, and the topic came up that there's a war coming,
Hmm.
and you're going to have to choose a side.
Hmm.
And God is building an army, and the army that He's building are these young lions, men and women who are carrying the word, who are saying, "Look, you can be whoever you want to be, but I'm not backing down anymore from who I am."
That is right.
There you go. And what really hit me hard was that the thing that's missing from this huge army of young lions that's out there is there are no old lions out there leading them.
Hmm.
And I'm like, where are the older lions? Where are the lions of the church who have this army behind them that God just built for them, and says, here's your army. Go do
Hmm.
something with it. And we're not stepping up and leading. We're cowering in the shadows.
Hmm.
And I just had enough. I said, you know what we need to do is we need to have a podcast where people can come on and they're not talking about anybody else being bad. They're just simply saying, this is who I am. And
Right.
they're saying, you know what? This is what I believe. This is how God has impacted my life. And this is what I, want to tell everyone else. I challenge people to tell 10 people how God impacted their life and see if it motivates these people to, allow God into theirs. God cannot, you can't receive God through a clenched fist.
No.
You got to open up and let him in. I learned that the hard way. And so the podcast is to wake up the lions by having enough people talking about it. And the last thing I'll say on is that if 5 people are out there talking about their faith, you may not want to be number 6 because it's still a small group. You feel like you're on display and you're all
Hmm.
alone. When 500 people are talking about God, it's pretty easy to be number
Hmm.
501 because people have your back. You're not alone. You're part of a movement. And so that's why I started the podcast, was to create enough of a movement and create enough people talking that everybody would feel comfortable coming out and talking.
Okay.
So that's where we
And we
are.
need more. We need more of the older people to step out of the shadows of being a part of the silent majority. The silent majority
Yeah.
has allowed the loud minority to run over us. and enough is enough.
Yeah, 100%.
So when you come on any of these podcasts, or when you host any of these podcasts, or any of the podcasts edited at all?
Um, I don't come on that many podcasts as a guest, to be honest, so it hasn't happened to me yet. But I'm also selective about the podcasts I go on. I'll come on a podcast like this where I know and
Yes,
respect the
sir.
host, and I know that they're not going to take my message and turn it around and turn it into something it's not. Do I think that could happen? Oh, absolutely, absolutely, it could happen. So there are some podcasts, for instance, that even if they asked me to come on, I would say no. Because I know what they believe, and I don't believe for 1 minute they're going to let my beliefs have a place in their airtime. So there's always a method, but I think the best way to get the word out about this is to just do what I do. I build podcasts. I continue to host. I bring on good guests like
Hmm.
yourself. We've had some very quality people already. We have other people that I've recorded that haven't been released yet. The interest is huge. People are trying to like book times. The more people we get on, the more exposure we put out, the bigger this is going to get. And to be honest, it's already growing faster than both the other podcasts grew at this point in their lives.
Okay.
So yeah, it's catching fire.
Cool deal. Now, when if someone like me comes on your podcast, whether it be Wake Up the Lions, The Power of Man, or the Podcaster Nation,
Mhm.
do you edit any of those podcasts, or is it all pure?
I'm one of these weirdos that's out there, and I'm actually sort of leading a new movement in that area. To be honest with you, I'm glad you brought that up. I've been in a bunch of groups lately and made a bunch of posts, and I am 100% against editing at all. You know, something like 90% of people who start a podcast, it's in the 90s, I know that, percent of people who start a podcast quit before they get to their 20th episode. Brother, they're not burning out because they're having
Mm-mm.
conversations. Okay. They're not getting tired of talking to people. You do that all day long. We all do. They're getting tired of editing and taking out every pause and worrying about whether a dog is barking and worrying about whether the lighting is perfect and worrying about whether or not their voice cracked at one octave at one point in the podcast. They're worried about what did my social media post look like? Was it good enough or big enough or cool enough? Did I have the right app to do the right thing to put out a motion picture quality video for my come on, what are you doing? I mean, if you have like 5 people listening to your podcast, just keep doing the podcast.
I
You
understand that.
know? I mean, that's where you need to be. Just do the content. Do the content, hit post, and move on. Go do another piece of content. Go talk again. Do a lot more talking and a lot less editing. So no, I hate editing. I decided a long time ago I just wasn't going to do it anymore. And I mean, if we have the internet go out at some point, or a dog barks, or a cat crawls on somebody's head, or we drop a cup of somebody's coffee, or look, it's life. And if you and I were sitting here just having a cup of coffee in a coffee shop, a car might drive by and honk its
Yes,
horn.
sir.
It'd be part of our conversation. We wouldn't stop the conversation and go, I can't believe that guy just honked his horn over there. Let's edit that out. What? Just go. Just have a conversation. So we'll see where this movement goes. A lot of people right now are like, well, that's not professional. I'm like, how many guys do you know podcast and coach podcasters for a living?
Right.
Not many. So I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yes, sir.
And editing is stupid.
I I agree with you on that.
So there you go.
Two of my podcasts a week that come out are church services. I do edit the beginning of them most of the time to get through the prayer requests on Wednesday nights, and also through the singing on Sunday mornings due to copyrights. That's the only reason that I edit the front end of
Sure.
those out. But like when I have a guest on, or I go on someone's podcast, I try my best to make sure that I don't edit anything that they say or do. I think that takes out the authenticity of the podcast itself.
I totally
Yes.
agree. Um, I was on a radio station with Power Man at one point. It was a radio station called Conviction Radio,
Mhm.
and they're no longer around. But when when I was there, very first episode I sent in, the lady very innocently thought she was helping me. She edited the living daylights out of my
Oh.
episode and took out like every little pause and sped it up and everything. And I went, "What? What?" I heard it, and I'm like, "What did you do?" Because there's a lot of value to a long pause if you know how to use
Mhm.
it, and I sounded like I was on speed. It was the most ridiculous thing, and I was like, "What did you do?" No, I'm like, "You can't post this. This is awful." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was helping you out." I'm like, "Just go with the unedited cut that I gave you. Don't touch it. Don't edit." She's like, "Don't edit at all?" I'm like, "No. I've been doing this long enough, and I know how to talk, and I know I've been a public speaker. I've been on
Mhm.
stages. If I'm talking to you, Jonathan, and I put a pause in there
Mhm.
like I just did,
Mhm.
there's a reason for
Right.
it."
I understand that.
Okay. It doesn't mean I, like, lost my train of thought and you need to cut it out. I hate it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
the hate
Yes,
editing.
sir. So what motivates you to do 3 different podcasts to coach rookies like me and others? Um, what motivates you to do that each and every day?
I absolutely love it, to be honest, and, y I didn't realize it at the beginning. All of my podcasts on the surface seem to have serve a different public. They seem to have different purposes. Um, when you really look at them from a macro view, you take a step back and you look at them. All of them are serving
Mhm.
podcasters. All of them are serving the podcasting community. All of them are serving the people that I'm targeting and talking to. And every single one of them right now, I'm confident is serving God in some capacity. And I didn't realize that when I started the first two, I'll tell you that. But I truly believe that I am at this point. And I think we all have a responsibility to use whatever gift we
Mhm.
have, whatever passion we have to serve God at some point, in some way. And I was not doing that. I was just doing it for my own gain and because I loved it. And now that I'm much more focused and I realize what it is I'm actually who it is I'm serving and
Mhm.
why. It's even more fulfilling than it ever was. And to be honest, it's like walking on air, man. It's the air I breathe. I love doing it, and I feel like I'm
Yes,
serving when I
sir.
do it.
What's your least favorite
Yeah.
part of doing this, if you have a least favorite part? Yes,
Besides editing.
besides editing. Editing does not count.
My least favorite part is, um, eh, my least favorite part is it's not the competition of other coaches or anything. My least favorite part is the the other coaches that are out
Mhm.
there that really ruin podcasters, that ruin people who have a passion for
Mhm.
something. And it makes people skeptical of coaches who are actually trying
Mhm.
to help. I've heard so many coaches who want to charge like $5,000, $10,000 for their services. They get people to pay it. They promise them the world. They deliver nothing. They convince everyone they have to like niche down, to this like tiny little niche. And then when nothing works, they go, "Well, you didn't pick the right niche."
Mhm.
It's like, but you told me
Mhm.
to. So the whole coaching game, unfortunately, has become a real
Mhm.
racket in a lot of ways, and that's my least favorite part of what I do, because I'm having to, establish my honesty and authenticity with people before I can work
Mhm.
with them. And I mean, hopefully you can attest, but after somebody works with me, they're like, "Oh man, this he's really telling me the truth. He lives this. I see him doing this stuff with his
Mhm.
podcasts, so he must be telling me the truth, or he wouldn't be doing it." So that's probably the worst, having to deal with other coaches who really, I mean, probably have never even podcasted before, but they're coaching it so they can make some money. And
I
It's just awful.
understand. I understand. As we get ready to wrap up here, is there anything that I missed or any point that you want to drive home?
I don't think you missed anything, brother. I think you definitely asked some great questions. I appreciate all that. In terms of what I would like to drive home, uh, you know, based on who your listeners are,
Hmm.
especially, uh, I would say I'd like to get back into the wake up the lions thing and back up what you talk about a lot in your sermons and in your podcast, and just do a final note there and say, folks, you are the only one who can stand up for your
Hmm.
faith. And when you do not, when you tone down the God thing, when you say, okay, I'm just not going to represent myself as a Christian because I might ruffle somebody's feathers. No one's asking you to be judgmental. Nobody's saying you should dislike somebody because they're not. It's nothing about that. All it is having, the confidence in yourself and the love in your heart to say God matters. And when you don't, and when you run away from your faith and when you hide it and when you, sort of bring down the God
Hmm.
thing, like tone it down, you're toning down your faith to
Hmm.
him. You know, when you're standing at the pearly gates hoping that you hear "Well done," my good and faithful servant, what you're going to get is, so should we tone down this you getting into heaven thing, or are you okay with me
Right.
now? I mean, it's absolutely awful what we've been doing, and so people just need to
Yes,
stand
sir.
up. They just have to stand up. No one's asking to fight. The reason that I use a lion for wake up the lions is because lions don't attack, man. They
Yes,
protect.
sir.
They protect their own. And it's time for us all to stand up and protect our own. And I hope people will take that. I hope they'll listen to one of your messages out there, brother, and stand up and simply say, I am and he is. That's
Yes,
all.
sir. Well, thank you again for coming on the podcast today. And at the end of the podcast, they'll be able to find all of the links to your information, links to the Podcaster Nation, Wake Up the Lions, and the Power of Man podcast, all three of those. And listen, guys, you're not the only lions out there that's standing. There's a bunch of us that are there. It's just a matter of all of us uniting and fighting for the cause. And again, thank you, Rory, for coming on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was absolutely wonderful. And keep doing what you're doing,
Yes,
brother.
sir.
It
Thank
matters.
you. You do the same. Also, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. If you'd like more information about the podcast, feel free to visit justthebiblewilldo.com. We have all of our links to all of our podcasts, all of our merchandise, and all the information about the podcast is listed on the website as well. Keep looking up. Jesus is coming soon. Until we meet again.